Welcome back to Washington Watch. I'm Tony Perkins, your host. So good to have you with us. As I mentioned earlier, we've got folks standing by to take your call. If you'd like to partner with the Family Research Council Washington Watch to make sure that we stay on the air and that we continue to defend faith, family, and freedom in our nation's capital, we've got a group of supporters that have put together a $1 million matching challenge. So essentially, every dollar you give will be doubled. So we've got team members waiting to take your call, and they look a little lonely. So why don't you give them a call? 800-225-4008. That's 800-225-4008. Or if you'd rather, go to tonyperkins.com and you can donate online. All right, as we mentioned in yesterday's program, and what seems to be ongoing, nonstop over the last 10 months is the government implementing extreme restrictions on houses of worship as a result of the coronavirus. Pastors are being held in contempt of court. We talked with Pastor Mike McClure yesterday, held in contempt, fined $55,000. Some are being forced to close their doors entirely. Well, High Plains Harvest Church and Senior Pastor Mark Hotaling have had enough of the limits. This church is seeking an injunction against the 50-person limit that's been placed on churches in the state of Colorado under Governor Jared Polis. Joining me now to give us the details is the pastor of High Plains Harvest Church, Pastor Mark Hotaling. Pastor, welcome to Washington Watch.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for all the good work you guys do.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you, and thank you for standing up. This is becoming a frequent topic on this program because we are having more and more churches that are just saying, look, we've got to do what we're called to do, preach the gospel, minister to our people, and we can't do it under these onerous restrictions, which, by the way, are being applied in a way, in a fashion that is discriminatory towards churches. So give us the status of your legal challenge against the governor of Colorado.
Well, we actually had a major victory yesterday, and the state is now backpedaling. They have lifted the capacity restrictions against churches, and we are now treated as any other essential business, and that's a huge victory for every church in Colorado. And our intent all along has been not to get an injunction to benefit High Plains Harvest Church,
right,
but that all churches in Colorado. And so the capacities have been lifted, and here's the inside baseball. The reason why they're doing this is they're trying to keep it out of the Supreme Court.
Right.
They're trying to and have it not be ruled upon. But we are pressing forward.
Good. Because
the reality is that the state can do this whenever they want,
right,
and until they're stopped. And so we're going to keep pressing forward. This Friday, another filing will be filing again, and we're going to keep pressing forward. But you're right. The reality is that churches are treated unfairly and discriminated against, and we're just a small rural church, but it's like David. I mean, we got a small stone and a sling, and we're going to keep swinging.
Well, you're very smart to press forward, and if you actually read the opinion of Justice Gorsuch in the case in New York, he actually pointed to that very issue that you just brought up, that there were some, because the governor in New York changed his policy at the last minute, there were some arguing, well, the case should be dropped because the issue has been resolved. But he pointed out, well, what's to keep them from going back next week and putting it back in place again? So you're smart to press this forward, because I've been saying this all along, where this pandemic ends, the next one begins. And we've got to establish once and for all this First Amendment freedom is the freedom to meet together, to worship without government interference.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct, and they saw that the writing was on the wall. The state of Colorado, they knew that that they were going to lose on this thing, and so they're in defense mode right now.
So
and we're
So
we're still on offense.
what are the restrictions now? They've removed the 50-person limit. So now what is what's the ceiling? What how many people can you have?
It's supposed to be 50% of capacity right now.
Okay.
And we haven't hit in the history. I mean, our church is 10 years old. I think there's maybe been one Christmas and one Easter service that we've ever hit 50% of the capacity of our sanctuary. I mean, it totally lifts what we need, but there's other churches in our network. We're the part of the Crossway network in northern Colorado, group of churches it's a church planting support network.
Right.
And but there's some of our churches that they have been severely hampered. And again, churches across the entire state of Colorado. I mean, this is a God's people issue.
Right.
This isn't just a church on the corner or mega church over there. This is a God's people issue, and that's what we've been fighting for this whole time.
Well, and all the churches there in the state owe you a debt of gratitude for standing up and pressing this issue. And as I said, you're right to continue pressing it forward. In the thing that is most egregious is when there is a double standard applied to churches and others. So this is certainly a major victory that churches are being treated no worse than others. I still think there's a lot of government overreach that they're using this coronavirus to accomplish. Pastor Mark, thanks so much for joining us today, and thanks for standing strong there in Colorado.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right.